Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to video game news for Monday, July 1st, 2024. Today's still going to be a weird situation as far as what I can accomplish and how smoothly I can accomplish it, in that I'm in the middle of a medium emergency still, and so I may get phone calls, I may get called away, I may just end the stream fairly early. On top of that, you might notice that the last live stream is now deleted and missing. In what is a rarer occasion, there was straight up one of the games we looked at was just downright pornographic in some of the screenshots, and I've already been yelled at by YouTube and warned not to show any of that, so I, out of an abundance of caution, deleted the live stream and just trashed the whole thing. And I will not be uploading the recording of that live stream for later viewing. Yeah, that's unfortunate, but it is part of a very consistent and larger problem of games being allowed on Steam without the proper oversight as far as just making sure they're in the adult section if they need to be in the adult section, and that they're probably properly tagged in general. You probably didn't miss much, frankly, anyways, because of that. Now, I also, since my schedule's been messed up, did manage to make it to level 100 on this gold pass, but I definitely am in the situation where I am not going to buy the gold pass for next quarter, or however long this lasts, until I'm already at level 100. It's just very highly seemingly likely that next gold pass I'll just play so little I won't get to level 100. This also puts me in a uniquely weird position in that I am now at, I had gotten up to platinum, and now the season has begun, and now I'm back down to gold. So all we're doing today is going to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh to get up in ranked. There are no other special events. And to that level, as far as the catch-up section goes, there's not really a lot to say here. I tried to start playing Nancy Drew and didn't get anywhere because Nancy Drew game, one of the many Nancy Drew games, is so old that it affects the screen, and so I recorded it incorrectly, and it's going to be a difficult thing to do. I was looking for a smaller game to test things out with, and so that failed. I did manage to do a quick look on Tabletop Simulator, and frankly I was very disappointed in the level of quality that Tabletop Simulator really had. For the amount of people, this is very possibly just, again, mainstream video game journalists like Giant Bomb talking about it too much. I would have thought it would have been a much better program with a lot more options. It is very much 100% a simulator, but even basic controls are confusing, and like, how do you draw cards without right clicking and drawing cards with a mouse? Double click, triple click, middle mouse button click, right click, none of that draws a card when you're playing a card game, and that's just crazy. Apparently there is no way to draw a card. There's little to no snapping in the basic default games. There is a shocking number of games that are missing, such as Mancala or Checkers. Just fairly basic things you would expect are totally missing. And there's really no logic in Tabletop Simulator at all. The DLC is probably where it mostly shines, but the DLC for the games and tabletop games they have seems to be a collection of a lot of B, C, or D tier tabletop games I've never heard of. It definitely doesn't have DLC for things like Monopoly or any really easy way you could play Monopoly. There's probably a Steam Workshop mod, that fan-made community mod that plays Monopoly, but things like that, Monopoly, Clue, Scrabble, all missing, and even bigger things like Ticket to Ride, or well, Ticket to Ride's a good example, I suppose, good enough example, are missing from the DLC, where you would assume the DLC is actually paying for a license for that content. We're looking at the online player base as far as games. Seems like a lot of people are playing Magic the Gathering Commander with Tabletop Simulator. And my main reason for wanting to test that out was because I was hoping for it to be a more impressive experience that would allow for it to work on the Steam Deck and be very helpful as far as the Steam Deck it goes. I probably don't have too much to say about my Steam Deck, but I did find that the latest beta version of the Steam Deck is the thing that's removing hibernation. So there is potentially a case here where they are trying to get rid of the hibernate function. Maybe it just doesn't work on all Steam Decks, or something like that. Could be the case. But yeah, I did notice that the updates that it has don't inherently pause sleep or anything while they're doing the updates. It should probably be beneficial if that did happen. I also was able to reinstall SteamOS by putting it on a micro SD card. So the thumb drives I was using are just incredibly slow. Yeah, so slow that I probably need to get rid of them. But yeah, with the Amazon Prime Day, maybe that is one of the useless gadget type things that might appear on sale. It's just a much faster speed, transfer speed, USB 3.0, USB-C type memory thumb drives. But yeah, so yeah, it is now not a situation that I broke the hibernation, it seems, as much as it is a situation that the update broke hibernation, because, and I broke it. It's 50-50 blame, I'm sure. They're trying to use ZRAM, which is weird because they should probably be using ZSwap instead. And by using ZRAM, which compresses the RAM to give more RAM, which is not a terrible thought. They broke hibernation. I also watched the Big Door Prize new season on Apple TV, the Apple TV app. And then I've been rewatching yet again Warehouse 13. Warehouse 13 clearly is inspired by the earlier sci-fi miniseries The Lost Room. I think the main difference there is Warehouse 13 was trying to be more lighthearted and less drama. The Lost Room centers around a human being, I think, being stuck in the Lost Room and the father trying to save that child from that. It also is definitely around the concept that all of the magical items are from one person, whereas Warehouse 13 expands more on that and says, well, all the items are from all over the place and different people. There definitely is a possibility that you could reboot the whole series and make a Warehouse 14. Yeah. And that would work if sci-fi really cared about that, if TV and all really cared about that. The problem with a lot of shows like that, like Warehouse 13, is all the actors now are particularly old. So you would just have to have a whole new fresh-faced cast. And even on TV shows, I'm not really seeing a lot of that where it is new people or younger people. Also, younger people aren't watching TV. So it would make a lot more sense if it was actually a streaming show on Netflix or Amazon Prime or something like that. Let's see what we can pull off here. The Big Door Prize ended its season on a cliffhanger and didn't really do too much. I feel like I enjoyed the previous season more. I guess I don't really have anything else to say. Like, well, I'm in the middle of this whole medium emergency. I'm just not really going to be accomplishing too much. So, it's not surprising I really don't have anything to say. So let's just go through the news, I guess. Doing a lot of uhs and ahs here. But yeah, I'm not paying really any attention to the Steam Summer Sale, to the point where I'm not even going through the curator's feed thing to get free trading cards. And yeah. There is definitely a problem here where how do I say this? The Steam Summer Sale is too close to this Prime Day sale, and Prime Day sale is too much more of an excuse to buy more physical, tangible items than it is to to really think about buying video games. Perhaps there is a shift here where I could, if the Prime Day sale had any real discounts on gift cards or any offerings there, you could buy Steam gift cards and then work that way. But I don't think that's actually doable. Okay. I need to destroy this card. Yeah, I'm already feeling today's going to be low energy day. Alright, well. So apparently, according to Video Games Chronicles, Sega's Crazy Taxi reboot is a massively multiplayer driving game. Recruitment video offers new details on the reboot. So I guess the question to ask there is, are some people going to be passengers while other people are going to be drivers? And even if there was that kind of setup, is that really fun? Probably not. So I'd assume really it's just everybody's going to be a driver, stealing each other's fares. It is dangerously close to a simulation of a real boring job. It may also be a case that there's a lot less taxi driving and a lot more just driving around stunt driving. Finally gave up and put in a bug report as far as my macro not running correctly, so hopefully they'll actually fix that and address that. I turned off a couple more plugins just to see if they were interfering, and it didn't do anything helpful. Censored Gaming has a video as far as how Resident Evil 1, the original Resident Evil 1, has been released uncensored on Good Old Games. The Japanese version, I believe, was censored, and I think the PlayStation version was censored in the West. Which, yeah, the level of censorship there is not going to be much. It's just a little bit of gore. I would imagine maybe some cuss words. I'm not sure, though, if this isn't going to be a situation where Good Old Games' argument is that older versions of games should be on Good Old Games and not never go on Steam, because that would just confuse people. And so it might be a little sucky if it turns out that you're just never really going to be able to own the original Resident Evil on Steam. It'll just never be available for sale there. I also tried to run a installer for non-Steam game launchers, is what I believe it's called. Non-Steam launchers or something like that. It's supposed to just install other launchers onto the Steam Deck. Not that I probably would ever use any of them. It's not the craziest thought, though, to have them installed and ready to go, just in case. Although all of that would take up space. So that is certainly another consideration. I've got an allergy / histamine / hives thing going on also right now, and I'm taking algae pills, so that could cause me to be drowsy. But yeah, there's never had hives before, and so it's weird. I changed my air filter, and I'm hoping that that will filter out whatever is in the air. But yeah, it's come, and then I've taken algae pills, and then it's gone away, and then it came back as soon as algae pills stopped working. Century Gaming also is apparently quoting Kanye West for some reason, which is weird because that doesn't have anything to really do with video games, and we're seeing more and more of that. And then apparently BBC censored a non-binary mention in Transformers Earthspark cartoon, which, yeah. BBC is probably a little bit more pro-censorship than you would think. They probably don't want to do it, but just being so tightly controlled by the UK government, and the UK government being a little bit more pro-censorship. At a certain point, there are definitely people that would say it wasn't age appropriate, but yeah, particularly if you're talking about a transforming alien being non-binary, that doesn't seem like that's something worth mentioning. If you were talking about a character saying they're non-binary, that's still not really, I think, that big of a deal. Personally, it's gonna matter to some people. I'm pretty sure that this community guidelines warning that I got is never going away. Yeah. December 4th, 2023 is when it happened, and so yeah, I think this warning is never going away at all. I think it's just glitched because I deleted the video. Or they deleted the video. Oh well. So I'm still debating whether we should stick with SteamDB as far as the most played, the numbers. Like, SteamDB is probably giving a little bit more information than Steam's Valve Zone charts. Banana here we can see is slowly falling down in attention and focus. And yeah, I don't think there's probably going to be anything super surprising otherwise in the top 100. And the summer sale is still going on Steam, and I don't think there's any reason to believe that there's anything new. At a certain level, the fact that Steam sales have not tried to have any games or interactive element, I think is probably a smart move. I think that probably does just focus your players and your purchasers and your shoppers to actually buying games. The only slight distraction from that being the Steam Deck and maybe the Valve Index being on sale. I don't think the Valve Index is even on sale. As far as the exploration queue goes, they're like promoting Doom the Dark Ages here, we can see, and that's not even a game that's out yet. And this may just be the last game we even play today. And certainly I'm in a weird position as far as I look at the queue, because there's just kind of nothing I can do while looking at the queue. If I put anything on the follow list, then I have to leave that tab open to try and make a YouTube short on it, which means I can't click next in the queue without opening a new window. Just kind of copying things over. At a certain level, looking at the queue might be a way of double checking about some games that I may have missed. Yeah, we have like Overwatch 2 in the queue, just overwhelmingly negative. They totally dropped the ball on that. Then, of course, everything's slow to load. See, I saw a game by this name, Class of 09 Re-Up, but it was by a completely different name, a completely different animation style, completely different, I think, uploader, so I feel like somehow in the internal documentation the information got twisted around. Now noticeably, the discovery queue seems like you this time can only do it once, so they're not even really focused on that at all as far as doing the discovery queue. See if this works. And it being a Monday, it is also worth pointing out that there really is not just going to be that much news. So everything is kind of lining up nicely, I think, here. In that I needed this stream to be a shorter one, and by there just being not that much news, and by the fact that I'm also just not going to spend a lot of energy playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Today. The real experiment I should do, now that I think about it, should be to go through all the new games that came out on Steam just immediately, not play any Yu-Gi-Oh! At all. He didn't think that all the way through, it seems. So yeah, like Gamatsu has an article here. Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater production producer said, "I'd like nothing better than to work with Hideo Kojima again." Alright. But yeah, if I started the whole stream just like this, maybe I would just talk about news stories that would interest me more. See, this game, like Nephilim, I believe this game actually is a remake of an older game. I feel like there was something called Nephilim as far as in that era of a lot of first-person shooter Doom clones. A lot of these games are already on the fall list. Maybe that's all from the same publisher. This is taking forever. A certain level, going through all these games right up at front might be a way to warm up. But even now, I really have nothing to say. That would be the case for a lot of this. And I've tried multiple times to get ahead here, and he seems to have a counter for everything I can do. Do I think there's a real game here? No. Yeah, I'm really not putting enough emphasis on just how disappointed I was with Tabletop Simulator. I definitely can't make that default claim that it would have been better to say buy Tabletop Simulator to play Clue than buy Clue from Hasbro. You are better buying the Clue game from Hasbro if you want to play Clue, but you're still going to get screwed because they are going to charge you a ton of money for DLC throughout the whole process. Yeah, I'm just going quiet here. Going quiet and getting sleepier. If anything, the game is lulling me into falling asleep. So yeah, over the course of the month, the hope is to get back up to platinum, maybe even get to diamond if we got really lucky. Not likely to really happen. But I don't even want to play anymore, even 30 minutes into the stream. The whole thing is just too much. Apparently I have 150 of these, which I don't know at what point I got 150 of these, but yeah. opening even 100 of these packs is probably not going to affect too much. You just have a significant number of cards you already would have had copies for. I guess we do know now that it is maxing out at 100. Although if I had 200, maybe then things would change there. If I can dismantle all extra cards here, that's going to give me a significant amount of crafting points as far as commons and rares. Barely anything as far as super rares and ultra rares, which I should probably spend some time crafting cards too if I was going to do something with it. But yeah, I think I am done with, I'll give this a chance. I think I'm done with Yu-Gi-Oh! For today, and very possibly I'm just working my way towards being done with Yu-Gi-Oh! Altogether. Here we have yet another idle clicker game. And then just a whole bunch of other garbage. Here we can see some dumb YouTube ad type games. I'll give this a chance. Even the jigsaw puzzle concept in Tabletop Simulator was difficult for me to figure out how we're actually supposed to play with a jigsaw puzzle there. Although it does let you load in your own images, which is the one thing all jigsaw puzzle games should have, and almost none of the jigsaw puzzle games do have, because I'd rather just sell you another jigsaw puzzle game with different images next week. Interesting. Card-based pool. Billiards. The other thing I need to do is schedule videos, and I'm not really doing that either. The problem is with this medium emergency, without giving too much details, is that it's just not really comfortable feeling to pull out my Steam Deck and work on a Steam Deck for an hour or two when I'm away from my house. There's just a shift of focus, and my attention is just requested / required elsewhere. So yeah, I definitely had my Steam Deck with me, and the only thing I used it for was to, for a few minutes, plug in headphones into the Steam Deck and then Bluetooth audio from my phone to the Steam Deck headphones. But yeah, I definitely would like to find here's yet another clicker. I would like to see if there's any kind of cheap Bluetooth headphones that run off of batteries, just regular batteries, because I don't want to buy Bluetooth headphones that are just rechargeable, but then the rechargeable batteries will go away. I don't mind if the batteries are rechargeable, I just mean that the batteries should be replaceable, and they probably would be some kind of small, tiny little batteries. But yeah, that's what I'd like to find. The other thing that would be easier to do is just get a USB-C to audio jack adapter for my phone, which that is probably the smarter move. And so yeah, I believe that's probably all the games that came out over the weekend. Technically, I think most people in the United States would have considered last weekend 4th of July weekend. But yeah, I also wouldn't be surprised if they double up and consider next weekend 4th of July weekend also. So we had some stories here, but honestly, I'm not sure I'm particularly enthusiastic any of this. Some of this is old stuff, like SAG-AFTRA upping the indie dev contract tiers to include $30 million game projects. Yves Gourmet denouncing Assassin's Creed Shadows racist / malicious backlash, which they should be using quotes here a little bit differently, because it's Assassin's Creed Shadows apostrophe or single quote in the wrong place, then another single quote and another single quote. Yeah. Older news again, SNK opening a development studio in Singapore. Vinba Stray Gods of Highland Song honored at the 2024 Games for Change Awards. A tribunal, I am guessing this might be in Canada, has found that Cloud Imperial Games discriminated against disabled employee with a return to office policy. Which, yeah. They fired a disabled worker who sought to continue working remotely following the pandemic, which inherently, I imagine their thought process there, which they've been told was wrong now, was that I assume this disabled employee was actually going to the office before the pandemic. And inherently, I imagine the mistake they made was by actually firing the employee instead of simply having the work be impossible to be done from home. Just all they would have had to say is, nope, you've got to come to the office to do the work. We're shutting down any remote access. And then they could have fired him for not showing up for work and probably gotten away with that. This is not in Canada, it's in the UK. And it certainly doesn't set your life for something that could be a career ruiner at $38,000. Yeah, there's a whole article here if you're interested. Let's see, Gamatsu had Zenless Zone 0 details, new content available at launch. And Bleach Brave Souls for Switch launching July 11th. Xseed Games announces its Anime Expo 2024 lineup, including a secret title. Here's the games in text form also. Inotria, The Last Song, physical editions to be distributed by Fireshine Games. Cyberpunk Metroidvania game Skydust has been announced for PC. Let's see if we had that one. Nope. Don't have that one open. Although I might have it open because my duplicate tab closer is not enabled at the moment. A Summer Pockets TV anime was announced. I assume this is based off of a visual novel. Mars 2120 launches August 1st. Yeah, this is really going to highlight the issue as far as duplicate tabs being opened without that plugin enabled. A turn-based action game called Arashi Gaiden has been announced for PC. We are definitely getting more announcements for games that are going to release in 2025 than we are getting announcements for games that are coming out this year. ReZero Starting Life in Another World, Witch's Resurrection, launches this summer in Japan. I feel like that ReZero series is fairly popular. And then Yi's memoir, The Oath of Felghana, is coming to the West, and I guess that was the surprise announcement. Surprise game. Hunter x Hunter, Nin X Impact, character trailers, Machi versus Uvogin. Trailers are available on Gamatsu. Arc System Works establishes Arc System Works Europe. Company is seeking to grow further in Europe as a renowned developer and publisher. Capcom has acquired a 3D CG production company called Minimum Studios. I haven't heard of that studios before. I have mentioned in some previous things that I saw some scientific progress on making a new Blu-ray DVD standard. Unfortunately, I got some new information on it, and while it seems like you can do it, the technology at the moment is in such an early pre-production that you would need like a $40,000 laser to burn the CDs. Although at a certain level that is still probably doable if you're trying to have 8, 16, 32K resolution video. But it's not doable as far as a backup solution for just my videos and the hard drives. Obviously, that's way too expensive. What we're really looking for is a $200 to $300 Blu-ray burner that would burn and back up hard drives very fast. Also, the write speeds on this new technology is very slow. So it has a lot of things that would have to be worked on as far as our technology. Meanwhile, Sony has reduced the amount of Blu-rays that they plan on producing in general, which, yeah, that is a sign of the times, of the death of physical media in favor of just streaming services. Let's see. Warlander publishing duties have been taken over by Toy Logic, no longer being published by Playon. Muv-Luv Remastered and Muv-Luv Alternative Remastered is coming to the Switch in the West on July 11th. I believe these are visual novels. Tokyo Clan Pool is coming to the West for the Switch and PC. Let's see. Looks like this is a dungeon crawler game. Yep. Let's see, Video Games Chronicles has a Rockstar Museum display featuring never before seen Red Dead Redemption 2 concept art video. Ubisoft has laid off dozens at its Toronto studio, and the Prince of Persia remake is now planned for 2026. Yoshi P has apologized for Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail issues. The expansion is currently in early access. Video Games Chronicle has new gameplay footage of Black Myth Wukong in 4K. And let's see, Capcom makes an animation production company, Minimum Studios, a subsidiary. This Taiwanese studios worked on Resident Evil games and Dragon's Dogma games. And that's probably an indication of just where a secret third-party company may have done a lot more work than you realize, and now that Capcom realizes they need them, it's going to make them a subsidiary so they can keep the workers working. Arc System Works has opened a European branch. Sega's Crazy Taxi Reboot is a massively multiplayer driving game. George R.R. Martin appears to have teased an Elden Ring movie or TV adaptation. Rydo brought up rumors unprompted in his latest blog. I imagine he might be just trying to build up the fascination of movies or TV adaptation to the game. And inherently, I think that's a problem of hiring a writer who has already shown that he wants his writing to be adapted into TV or movie. Is that having him write for a video game was probably going to push him eventually to want to then backdoor into a movie or TV deal. Nintendo says it wants to avoid Switch 2 scalping. I don't know if they're using the phrase Switch 2 actually, by making enough to meet demand. He says he doesn't think the component shortage will be an issue. Video Games Chronicle has a gallery here of Nintendo of Japan sharing 15 Pikmin wallpapers. Okay. That's nice, I suppose. It's not really any news in that. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 open beta has been cancelled. Players who signed up for the public test will receive a limited weapon skin. An open beta being cancelled either means that something is going really wrong or something is going really right. Let's see, Dragon's Dogma 2 is getting a free trial. And apparently the PlayStation Network is currently down. I'm not sure if it still is down. And then Rocksteady, on the last day of the month, doubled down on their Pride support with a message. Meanwhile, I would say they really failing to make a good game that people want to play, so their focus seems to be too much on having at least one employee run their Twitter feed and being all about Pride, instead of perhaps being more about the Twitter feed being more about promoting the Justice League, Suicide Squad game. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. And then Warner Brothers Games, I think, literally just retweeted Rocksteady Games' message, not bothering to put out their own message, which is interesting. Our chart overall is showing downward trends for a lot of things. Pal World still seems to be going up. And then can't really get too much more information from that. A couple of days ago was apparently the 24-year anniversary of Diablo 2 being released, which might also be the last time Diablo was worth really playing. Inherently, it is a situation these days where games take so long to make and so much changes between the first and second and the third and the fourth that there is a substantial number of game series out there that have a good first and second game, and then just a long history of mediocre to bad games after that. And it does probably highlight that at best you probably should only make one game, then a sequel, then you should just say, hey, let's make something new. If there had been only 2 Diablo games and then Blizzard had just made a different kind of game very much like Diablo but set in a different universe for a couple of games, that would have probably been cooler. Like, you could easily reskin Diablo 2 to make it a fantasy more, well, it is a fantasy game, but you can make it a sci-fi game. You can make it more of like a Tolkien Lord of the Rings fantasy game instead of a darker game. You could set it even in modern times. Yeah, there's a lot you could do while keeping the main dungeon layout concepts and the left click and right click concepts of how you control things. Let's see. OBS put out another release candidate for version 30.2. And then here's Steam's chart. Which the one thing to at least do is, if I was going to pull information from this chart, would be to then jump over here and see if I could get any information from top games being played on the Steam Deck, or even top sellers information. Yeah. And with that, I think we are done. Yeah. I started very early. I kind of needed to start very early today. And there's just no news that's happened. Yeah, news is still coming in here. An unfamiliar Xbox dashboard has been spotted in a Top Gear video for an upcoming driverless taxi, which I didn't think Top Gear was still making footage. I thought it got canceled. Maybe they're still making a few videos. But yeah, this could very well just be a mock-up. Anyways, and then the concept of driverless taxis are an interesting thought also, but I don't think the savings of not paying a human being is going to be passed on to you, and inherently every time a job is eliminated, it's just causing more and more problems. Yep. And certainly I'm finding it fairly depressing that, like, to even buy a bottle of water, and this has been true for a very long time, you need to pay $1 or $2 to buy a bottle of water out of a vending machine, and to get free water is increasingly difficult out of fountains. And there is personally just no capability that if I needed to panhandle or find money on the street or something, I would probably die before I found $2 worth of change on the street. People just don't drop things on the street that often to get a bottle of water. It's literally the only solution there is to smash in a vending machine if you are actually dying of thirst. We see I have a Bleon Rydo on the chat saying hi. But yeah, this I guess will be an interesting experiment on live streams as far as just what is a shorter stream going to be like. Will it possibly work better? Will people stick around? Is it possible that the 3-hour mark is the part that is driving away so many people who leave the stream in 10 seconds, is that they just look at the time. But yeah, either because my macro is broken or just because I started really early. I think it's mostly because I started really early. There's no news, there's nothing for me to say, and I don't want to play Yu-Gi-Oh! So that's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, and keep on watching. Thanks.